With majority of his parts back in tow, Olimar spots one more massive area that he knows will have all but one of his parts to restore functionality to his ship. This area being the Distant Spring. This distant body of water has an otherworldly feel that makes you truly feel like you're Olimar. So let's spring into this spring and see what you couldn't miss. As soon as we land onto the Distant Spring, we instantly can gather that this place is filled with water and geometry. While the water is obviously going to be here when spring is in the name, it was very unexpected to see extremely organized and intentional placement of stone walls, paths, and architecture. Clearly this place is not lived in by any life intelligent enough to create such architecture, and even if there was, the overgrowth on all of our surroundings suggests that these structures were built years prior to Olimar's descent onto this place. However, this fact, along with the fossils we find across the first bridge, suggests an even deeper piece of information. From what we know of fossils being created, they usually have a hard time being created and preserved unless inside of a marine environment. This must mean the Distant Spring used to not be a spring at all, it used to be an ocean or a lake. This excess water was most likely brought about by this planet's ice age years ago, creating a perfect environment for this fossil to form. Though, knowing this also must mean that the architecture we see all around this spring must have also been created underwater, meaning that we must have stumbled upon remnants of Atlantis. Scattered all across the faraway spring are a bunch of puffy Blo Hogs. These enemies are way different than their counterparts we see in the naval. These Blo Hogs fly and blow air instead of walking and blowing fire. This offers a nice switch up in game plan required to beat them, but one feature about them seems to be opposite of what would be beneficial. The spikes on the back of the puffy Blo Hogs seem to make no sense. The only other enemies in the spring that fly are shearwigs and swooping snitch bugs, but clearly these enemies are not of any danger to these massive Blo Hogs. This leads us to one conclusion: either they're guarding against a massive flying predator we don't know about, or the more likely scenario is to guard against yellow wollywogs. With the wogs' massive body weight, if the puffy Blo Hogs get stomped on by them, they would plummet to the ground, allowing the wogs to freely use their bodies as a trampoline, degrading their pride and leaving the puffy Blo Hogs demotivated to blow air. A bit of good news for Olimar in the Distant Spring is that there are no Bulborbs to put him in danger. However, that doesn't mean there are no Bulbears. Bulbears are almost functionally identical to Bulborbs, just with different stats. However, these Bulbears are unfortunately some of the most tragic enemies inside of Pikmin. This is due to the rim of the spring being surrounded by walls and water, causing this entire tribe of Bulbears to be trapped for eternity within the Distant Spring. While this is sad, the beautiful thing is the Bulbear tribe accepts their sad reality of their existence, and only wants to enjoy their tribe's final few generations in peace. A major discrepancy in this game's realism comes from the fire geysers that somehow are embedded inside the stumps surrounding another armored cannon beetle. This at first seemed odd, until I realized a Zobie Wood is extremely resistant to burning. This means after charcoal forms around the geyser itself, the rest of the log becomes impervious. Candy pop buds are mysterious flowers that transform Pikmin into an opposing color depending on the color of the bud. This is really useful in the case of excess Pikmin of a certain type. However, what is going on inside the bulbs, and how do the Pikmin transmute into a new color? In reality, the Pikmin we throw into the flower are not transformed, and the inside of these flowers are actually nectar bars run by the honey wisps. The Pikmin thrown into these bars tag out the Pikmin of that color partaking in the nectar bar to go and aid Olimar. These nectar bars are extremely convenient as well, because even when the 50 replacements stored in each flower are tagged out and the flower withers, the bar automatically teleports all of the remaining opposing color Pikmin to another candy pop bud so that the bar party can continue. Everyone knows of the Smoky Prague. This creature appears if we make it to the out-of-the-way spring before day 15, and is chilling in his egg on a little archipelago. This creature is very mysterious in its origin, with the only theory being a malformed Mamuta larva. This theory, while we can take it at face value since it was given to us directly, you all know we want hard proof for this theory to be believed, and today, I have found that proof. If we remember back to the impact site, it's the only place inside the game we find a Mamuta physically present. This alone is nothing, but the fact that the only Mamuta was also on a stump instantly gives us the proof to this theory. While there are a ton of stumps in the spring, there's one that clearly was the home of the Smoky Prague's mother. It's a conjoined stump that, other than Olimar's empty pilot seat, is vacant of anything else. This empty seat is most certainly a metaphor for a mother being vacant in its child's life, and sadly, the Smoky Prague is left alone to its life without the guidance of its Mamuta mother, which possibly might have led to the Smoky Prague's malformation away from being a Mamuta. And that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed, please do what you feel is right. To this video.